The son of superstar LeBron James is recovering in the hospital tonight after going into cardiac arrest. 18-year-old Bronny James is starting college at USC.
Well, the heart emergency happened while he was practicing with the Trojans yesterday. A family spokesperson says he's in stable condition and now out of intensive care.
Joining us now live is cardiologist Mitchel Alpert. We thank you so much for joining us. He's with Hackensack Meridian and the K. Hovnanian Children's Hospital over at in Neptune. We thank you so much again for being here. So listen, the problem is that we don't know the background here. We don't know his medical history. But given what we do know, his age and what happened, I mean, how common is it for something like this to happen to somebody in their late teens?
Well, the incidence is extremely rare. Some people quote it at 1 in 250,000. I mean, it's an extremely rare entity, but every time it happens, you know, it gets a lot of publicity, especially for someone like Bronny James. It's going to make national news, and it just feels like it's more than it is. But it's like anything else. If you're the one it happens to, it's a total disaster. But, for the average person, it's a very rare occurrence. It just doesn't happen that often. But unfortunately, we have these stories, and they seem to be increasing over time.
Okay, so doctor, perhaps it is something that's just undetected in someone his age. I believe he's 18. Mm-hmm. But what can parents do? What can we do to possibly see if our kids are vulnerable to something like this? Is there anything a parent can do?
Well, I always look at that like there's two parts. I call it the front end and the back end. On the front end, there's always the screening. You get seen by your primary care physician. In New Jersey, they do a 15-point physical. And on the physical, if you don't pass everything, like you're having chest pain with exercise, you're passing out, you're having issues, strong family histories, you will get referred to a pediatric cardiologist for a workup. That's how it's done. Most of those kids will get screened out. So you can't do everyone, but you certainly start with a screening, and then if you clear the screening, you're said to be fine. If you're not, then you'll end up with a pediatric cardiologist, probably getting an electrocardiogram, an echocardiogram, possibly a stress test. That happens every once in a while. But the important point is we do screenings all the time. We go into high schools, we do screenings, we do the best we can. And you will save lives doing screenings. We've done it all the time. But it's even more important on the back end. You can't screen everyone. I mean, Bronny James, Damar Hamlin, the football player who collapsed, these are high-end athletes. You know that Bronny James in a Division I school at USC had to have had an electrocardiogram, echocardiogram, mm-hmm. stress test, and he collapsed anyway. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, you have to have the back end. And what I mean by that is AEDs. You've got to know how to do CPR. You've got to have an automatic external defibrillator, an AED on site. It wasn't the pre-screening, although it's critically important. It wasn't the pre-screening that saved Damar Hamlin, and it wasn't the pre-screening that saved Bronny James. Yeah. So you can make a big difference on the front end with screening and on the back end with CPR and a defibrillator.
Dr. Mitchel Alpert, we thank you so much for sharing your insight and your expertise on this.